Alright, so this is going to be part 3 to what if Deku had Accelerators powers. Alright, before we get into the what if, we recently reached 300 subscribers. So I was thinking, do you guys want a Q&A? I don't know what you guys could ask, but I'm just giving that option out there. If not, if you don't want a Q&A, do you want like another subscriber special, like those longer videos that are around 30 minutes long? Just comment down below. But let's just get into the what if. So I got this comment recently that said that Accelerator, the quirk, might be able to reflect Aizawa's eraser ability, because all the quirks in My Hero could be explained scientifically. So how would you explain Aizawa's quirk? Well, I got a theory. It would be something like when he stares at you and activates his abilities, he would send out a signal. The person who receives the signal would have some part of their brain kind of blocked or stopped in a way that would stop their quirk. And this would explain why, mutation quirks are still, active and not erased, because they're physically there and they don't need a piece of their part of the brain to like activate it. So it would make sense. So if it's a signal, it has magnitude because of how strong the signal could be, and it also has direction. So theoretically, Accelerator should be able to reflect it. But let's get into the actual what if now. So last part, we just got done with the hero versus villains exam, and the last time I asked you guys if you want Deku in this version to have one for all, and I also asked you guys how should the costume look like, and I actually got like a lot of suggestions for the costumes. So let me go through the different types of suggestions and what I went through. So what I did was I took a lot of your guys' suggestions. One person commented that Deku should have goggles to help with the calculations. This is similar to what Accelerator has. After he gets like nerfed, he has to use a supercomputer on his neck to like help him with the calculations. Another person asked me to make him like this one Hunter x Hunter character, but make it white, like his costume. And a lot of people were just saying like, oh, just make him like Accelerator's like clothes, and he just wears like normal clothes, right? So I combined a bunch of these elements together to make I combined the kind of trench coat looking thing that the Hunter x Hunter character has, and I combined that with the fur coat that Accelerator has, and I gave him the black shirt that he has, but I made it into like a turtleneck, and I made his trench coat white, and I gave him the shoes of that Hunter x Hunter character, and I gave him the goggles like the commenter wanted, but I also gave him the gas mask, because someone also suggested like a gas mask, the one that Deku had in his original costume. So I tried to combine all those elements together, and I think it looks okay. I don't think it looks too out of place, but you guys can tell me in the comments how it looks. Now to address the one for all issue. So I'm not giving it to Deku. I gave you guys a to kind of vote on it, and it was kind of close, but near the end people just commented like, no, don't give it to Deku. So I'm not going to give him one for all, because he would be just in a situation where he doesn't need it because his quirk is better than one for all. But some people gave me suggestions to who to give it to, and I don't think I should give it to Bakugo, because he doesn't have the kind of ideals that All Might is actually looking for, because in this version he's actually more angry and more hot-headed than he is in the series. So I don't think it'd be a good fit. I don't think All Might would deem him to be a good fit for One for All. Another suggestion I got was Kiroshima, which I do agree has the the kind of ideals that I think All Might is looking for. But there's a lot of students, and there's also Mirio to consider. And another comment I got was to have Momo get it, but I don't really know if that's a good idea. She doesn't really stand out that much. But you guys can tell me down in the comments who you want me to give it to. I'm not going to give it to Bakugo, and I'm not going to give it to Deku, but just anyone else. But let's get back into the what if. So it would be lunchtime, and it would be the next day, right? And there would be reporters outside trying to find out if All Might actually works there at UA and wanting to get an interview with him. So they would be pestering the teachers there, and they would just tell him to leave, or they're calling the cops. But after the teachers leave, this is when Shigaraki actually disintegrates the door, and that's when the media gets in, and the villains actually take the schedule from the school, so they know that they're going to the USJ. And then everyone's freaking out because they think the villain's actually invading the school, so they all go to the hallway and it gets crowded. I think that the same thing. I think Deku would notice that it's just the media, so he would just kind of step on the ground to make a little bit of a shockwave, and then kind of in a annoyed voice, he would say that, "What are you guys freaking out about? It's just the media," right? Because that's kind of his personality is very close to Accelerator, but he doesn't believe he's a villain or anything like that. So people start to calm down, and Deku's kind of respected more for keeping his head cool in the situation and getting everyone to calm down. So people start to respect him even more. So Deku doesn't really care about this. He doesn't really care about praise or anything like that. So he just kind of ignores it. So when they get back to class, this is when Aizawa actually tells the students that they're going to the USJ to, practice hero rescuing or do rescue hero exams and things like that. So people are very excited to actually go. And I think in this one, Deku would bring his hero costume just because. Because in the original, in the anime, he just doesn't want to bring it because I think it was ruined from the fight. So in this one, he has no reason not to. So I think he would bring it. And Deku, being the class representative and trying to get this, trying to get there as fast as possible, he just tells the class, "Hey, everyone just line up and we'll get into the bus." So they follow his instructions and they go in the bus. And, they have this conversation on the bus just similar to the one that they have in the anime. But they talk more about Deku's quirk. And, Deku's like, yeah, it's just vector manipulation. That's all it does. And, people are very impressed on, hearing his quirk. And, they ask him, how does it feel to have such an amazing quirk? And he just says, well, I don't know. I've always had it, so I just do what I can, right? So he's kind of humble about his ability, but not to the point that he's not self-aware of how powerful it is, right? And I think people would like this about him, except for Bakugo, because he just kind of hates Deku at this point because of his attitude or his personality in general and how he's so quiet, right? and he thinks that Deku looks down on him, but it's just that Deku doesn't really want to like be associated with him. He just doesn't like talking to people in general. So I think Deku would try to end the conversation with him as fast as possible because he doesn't really want to talk, right? But he's somewhat, likes to have a conversation with Uraraka. So they start, talking, and he asks her like, why did you want to become a hero? And she explains earlier than she does in the anime that she wanted to help her parents and gain a lot of money. And Deku thinks about this and says, that's a pretty noble goal. And she would ask the same thing of him, and he would just say, well, I was born with a very powerful quirk, so I thought I could do some good with it. And but then he would say, oh, it's not, that reason's just pretty simple compared to yours. There's a pretty noble goal to try to help out your parents. And she would kind of blush and say, no, your reason's pretty good too, right? And I think at this point Deku's never really pursued anything romantically in the past because of his personality and just how he doesn't really talk to people. So I think he would start to grow more. He would find his like connection with this person because he like genuinely likes talking to her. So when we get to the USJ, right, they open the doors and they meet 13, and she does that speech about how things can, like, your powers are meant for good, but they could also hurt people. And Deku's he doesn't really care because he already knows that. He just thinks it's like that's like common sense, right? So he's just kind of ignoring her. And this is when he feels the vectors and vectors around like kind of change. And what I mean by this, it's not like another like sense, like it's not like an extra power that he has. He can feel everything like kind of change, right? Like if you've seen the Accelerator, the anime, he's able to tell whether a person is dead based off the vectors they give off, and he's able to tell like how many days they've been dead. So I think he'd be able to feel if something, something like a gateway were to happen a little bit beforehand, based on the vectors around that area changing, because the space around is changing. So I think he'd be able to kind of understand or kind of feel that kind of happen. And this is when the gateway actually opens up, and that's when all the villains come through. Shigaraki, and Kurogiri and the Nomu also come through. And Deku would see this as kind of as a challenge because he's never really faced villains before except for the slime villain, and he like absolutely destroyed him. So he would tell Aizawa, hey, let me handle this. So he's like, I'm gonna handle this, so try not to get in my way. And Aizawa was like, no, I'm not letting a student go out there. And Aizawa, Deku would be like, alright, try to stop me then. And Aizawa, would try to use his quirk on him, trying to stop his abilities. But like I said before, I think he would be able to reflect it based on how every power in my hero is scientifically explainable. So Aizawa not really being able to do anything, he decides to help him in any way he can. So Aizawa is kind of like a sniper in a sense, that he's just like turning off certain people's abilities, so it's easier for Deku to fight. But he doesn't really need it, since he would just he would step on the ground and then launch himself forward with his black wings. And as he's like going through, he would basically just make kind of like black tornadoes around everywhere, kind of like how he does in the anime, where he could just make a tornado from his hands without actually like touching anything. So he would take out basically all the villains, because any villains that he would that would come and like physically try to hit him, I think he would break their bones, similar to how uh, Accelerator does it in the anime in a certain magical index after he loses to Toma, and then all those, like, everyone in the city see or the delinquents in the city look down at him, and they actually try to beat him up, and everyone who, like, he takes on like 20 guys, and they all try to like beat him up, and as they're trying to hit him, their arms break. So I think it'd be a similar scenario in this one. So it would get to the point where as this is happening, 13 would ask Ida to run and get help. And this is when Kurogiri would go up there and kind of, block their way and try to kind of teleport half the class around the USJ, and the ones remaining there would try to escape. I think Ida would still escape due to the heroes that are, or the students that are left, blocking Kurogiri from doing anything. So we get to the fight against, what's his name? The Nomu versus Deku with the Accelerators powers. So the Nomu would try to run up and kind of hit, Deku. And as he would hit, his arms would break. And he would just keep on constantly try to hit him, but they would break and they'd just regenerate. Or, yeah, I'm pretty sure because he would have enough force to reflect it. Because if he reflects it with enough force, then his arms will break no matter the shock absorption. Because there's a limit to how much he could absorb, right? So, he would basically keep on doing that, and Shigaraki would be kind of scared because he's like, what's happening? And he would scratch his neck pretty violently, and he would say, this guy, because how Shigaraki's like a gamer, right? And he just keeps on fucking, making gaming references. I think he would say something about like this man having like God mode or something. So I think, Shigaraki would kind of break down mentally, just how he does in the anime. So what Deku would do is that he would just kick a rock, and it would be soaring towards, the Nomu. And I think this would make like a hole in his chest, pretty large. Deku's kind of like, he's kind of curious on what happened, because everything, this creature's going through a lot of damage, but it keeps on regenerating. And so what he does is, I don't know if he could probably like reverse the blood flow of the Nomu and probably kill it that way, but I'm not sure if the Nomu have the same anatomy as like a human, so we're not going to go that way. I think Deku would kind of like touch the Nomu on like anywhere on its body, and it would just sink into the ground, and it would just have its like head kind of the only thing up, right? So after that, Deku would just kind of concentrate all the oxygen in the area around him to kind of turn into plasma, just how Accelerator does in the anime. And this would actually just melt or kind of incinerate the Nomu's head, just how like more intensely than what what's his name Endeavor does, because plasma is hotter than fire, right? So the Nomu's dead. Shigaraki's like scared, and I think he would tell Kurogiri to get everyone out of here. So this fight would end a lot quicker. So what would happen is the remaining villains, the most of them would be stopped by the students, and anyone left would be taken out by Aizawa and 13 and then Deku. And then finally, when all the heroes come, all the villains are like down already. So Deku is hailed as a hero and you know, everyone's like cheering him, especially Uraraka, seeing what he just did and how cool he looked in her eyes. And Deku could kind of see this, so he kind of asks her out on a date, but he's kind of new to it, so even he's kind of like nervous, which is a new kind of feeling for Deku since he's never felt in danger before, so he doesn't know how to feel. So I think that he would seem pretty, like the guys would see him and think that he's pretty cool, and then the girls would also think that since not only did he stop all the villains, he also got a girl. So I think I'll end it here, and then in the next part we'll go through like the what's it called, the sports festival and things like that. So yeah, if you guys like this video, like, comment, subscribe. We recently reached 300, like I said before. Always appreciate the like and support. So with that being said, this is the end of the video. So yeah,